Next on the schedule, the toughest weekend of the Supercross season, the Pontiac doubleheader, and look who was in the crowd. Elvis is alive and watching Supercross. What Elvis saw when the gate dropped for Saturday's main event was the familiar figure of Jeremy McGrath bolting to the head of the pack. This time, though, the riders behind McGrath did not go away. Guy Cooper was in second place. Coming up, a patented Guy Cooper move that explains why Coop is the choice of the fans. Watch this. McGrath will do a double take when Coop falls out of the sky and lands beside him. Now, McGrath, probably not believing what just happened, was slow to recover, and Michael Craig was quick to take advantage of the situation to move past McGrath into second place. A few corners later, Craig, bitten by the adrenaline bug, blasted by Cooper, and he'll take control of the point position. Now, Craig opened a huge lead on the field. It appeared he was a shoe-in for the first Supercross victory of his career, but as he had done all season long, Craig crashed. How big was his lead? Well, Craig got up. He remounted. He'll start his Kawasaki and never relinquish control of the #1 position. Still in the first half of the race, McGrath was in second, but was being pushed by Kedrowski and Bradshaw, who had caught McGrath from out of the pack. Both riders made the pass, and McGrath was dropped to fourth. Now, not since the opening 2 rounds of the series had McGrath been shoved around like he was in the first night of racing in Pontiac. Michael Craig, perhaps shaken from the hard crash he suffered just a few laps before, was no match for the charging duo of Kedrowski and Bradshaw. Those 2 riders had hooked up in tandem, and from out of the pack with the adrenaline flowing were on the gas. Now, Michael Craig was still in position for a spot on the victory rostrum for the 3rd place. Craig made a big mistake at this point. When he was passed by Kedrowski and Bradshaw, he tried to match the speed of the 2 riders. It was Michael Craig's undoing. Craig was up and okay, but he was out of the hunt. Bradshaw, a few corners later, joined Michael Craig on the ground. He was obviously in pain. He was slow getting up. For Bradshaw, the night was over. Until that crash in Pontiac, Bradshaw had ridden extremely well. He was extremely fast. He was in line for a possible Pontiac win. Instead, his season would go down the drain. He went back to the pits and called it a night. In the closing stages of the Saturday night affair, a battle erupted for the runner-up position. Stanton had it, and McGrath wanted it. Pass was made, and the running order for the dash to the checkered flag was set. After the win, Kedrowski answered the critics that claimed his first win at Daytona was more like an outdoor national than a Supercross.
Yeah, you know, I started hearing that rumor too. They said, oh, that's kind of like a national track. That's the only thing Kedrowski can win on. And, you know, everyone at Kawasaki was kind of razzing me a little bit. So tonight I guess I proved that wrong. I just kept telling them, hey, man, I'm going to start winning. Don't worry about it, you know.
Mike Kedrowski moves to second place in the standings. Damon Bradshaw, with a long face, is standing by with Art Eckman.
I just cross-rutted and went over the bars and kind of landed on my head and knocked me not quite right.
You're not quite right now, but you made it a heck of a run on the way through the crowd.
Yeah, I was trying to. I felt real good and was coming up, and I got up on the mic and started making a couple mistakes, and I said, well, I'll lay back for a second, then I'll go for it again, and by the time I started to go for it again, I crashed. So.
Well, the riders that are in the contention for the championships probably ought to come into this race a little conservative. Get by both nights with points and make sure they survive both nights. But the rest of us, you know, we're just in there to steal the show.
Yeah, my mechanic had his work cut out. You know, I got off twice out there pretty good, and I bit my bike up a little bit, but I think I was really the only one on the ground. Everybody else kind of got away clean. But my mechanic got my bike back, you know, to normal. Bike's running good, and looking forward to stay out in front tonight.
With a few hours rest, the stars of the series were back at it. Now, this is the first heat race. Watch McGrath. Now, that's the kind of a crash that breaks collarbones and separates shoulders. McGrath walked away unscathed. Same heat race, Cooper gets sideways and tangles with Bradshaw. Now, a few laps later, Bradshaw is going to retaliate. Watch this. Bradshaw washed out Cooper's front end. And with that, Bradshaw went to the main, Cooper to the semifinal. At the head end of the pack, Steve Lampson was busy winning the race. Afterward, Bradshaw and Cooper talked about the incident.
You never have any idea what Cooper's thinking unless you pass him the way I pass him. He ends up running into you 14 times after that, you know. He ran into me and ripped the brake off the bike. I didn't have any front brake, but, you know, there's nothing out of the ordinary with Cooper.
I don't know, he's just a young kid that gets paid a lot of money, and I think he's got a bad attitude, but I just ride the best I can, and on a track like today, I'm running a little bit sore today, so maybe I was protecting my lines a little bit, but if I'm up there running with him in the main, you know, paybacks, I don't know. I give everybody a lot of respect, but him the least respect. Just I don't care for his attitude that much, but I enjoy racing. That's why I'm out here, to have fun, race my own race.
As the gate dropped for round 12 of the series, tempers were short. The series was nearing the end, and frustration as championship hopes dwindled was commonplace. Mathematically, several riders were still in the hunt for the crown. Realistically, only Mike Kiedrowski, who was 21 points behind McGrath, had a legitimate shot. But McGrath would have to help. The Honda star responded with a hole shot that led to his 7th win of the season. Late in the race, this scary incident took place. It quieted the crowd. Jeff Stanton is down on the track. That's Larry Brooks bending over him. Now, the crash was caught by a camera taping from the other side of the racetrack. Now, watch the top part of the screen. You'll see Larry Brooks endoing and Jeff Stanton coming down on Brooks's bike. Stanton became tangled in the two machines. He was driven hard into the ground. Larry Brooks was quickly up, but Stanton was motionless on the track. For several minutes, Stanton was attended to by the medics and doctor on hand, while race action was slowed almost to a crawl. It was reminiscent of Pontiac 2 years ago when Stanton crashed in the opening night and missed the second night. Stanton went to the hospital for observation. He would miss the next round of the series. Like Bradshaw, Stanton was out of the hunt. Mike Kiedrowski, winner of the opening night's competition, was the final victim of the Pontiac doubleheader. The Kawasaki factory star from Acton, California, crashed hard while running in second place. Kiedrowski knew to catch McGrath in the championship, he had to beat him on the track. That's just what he was trying to do. Kiedrowski paid the price for letting it all hang out. The rider that benefited from that series of crashes was Jeff Emig. Emig moved to the number 2 position in the second night of the Pontiac doubleheader. Now, with the exception of McGrath, the Pontiac doubleheader was a disaster for the riders in the top 5 in the standings. 2 of them, Stanton and Bradshaw, suffered DNFs. Kiedrowski recorded an 11th place in Sunday's main event, while Craig finished 18th on Saturday. McGrath came into Pontiac with a 24-point lead. He left with a margin of 36.